beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of Karma Cards. I am your host, Therese Tucker. We are inside the Eclipse portal still. It's been a very turbulent portal, and this is literally about a timeline shift. Things are completely shifting. We are about to hit the end of the Eclipse portal, which will be on September 21st with the new moon in Virgo. Now this is interesting because we have 13 moons in a year. We have 12 months in a year. So there's always a moon that sort of repeats somewhere in the cycle. And this year it's 2 new moons in Virgo. So we had one on August 22nd with a new moon in Virgo at 00 degrees. Now, the theme with a new moon is obviously drawing something new in, but when we have the 00, and I've talked about this before, this is a starting, literally going into something, and there's an energy of like a purification, but it is the moment before you start a cycle. And then of course, what comes right after the moment before you start a cycle, we go into eclipse season. On September 7th, we had the full moon in Pisces eclipse that started this portal, this timeline shift, turbulent energy jump. And the portal ends with the bookend new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees, which is a critical degree as well. This is a degree of like karma endings, big things shifting, right? So something is being shifted here. And by the way, if you want to join me for that very powerful new moon solar eclipse in Virgo spirit circle, here is the link. It's in the description below. You can go to this link, sign up, join me live, go through the solar eclipse process with me, because it's a little different than a new moon process. So we're going to go through that process. We're going to work with the energy of gratitude and allowing, and then of course we do psychic Q&A. So if that sounds like something that resonates for you and you'd like to be a part of it, I'd love to have you there. The link's in the description below. I've been re-listening to The Law of One. I love to listen to it every year, time after time, and see what else sort of I can absorb from it. It's a core material for me and my understanding and teachings. In The Law of One, they talk about ascension a lot. So a lot of the information I get from ascension comes from The Law of One, comes from my team in spirit, comes from the work of other people like Dolores Cannon. In this work, they talk about the two-world split. And we've talked about this for years now. So if you've been following me for a while, you're like, yeah, I know the two-world split. But in case this is new, which it's new to some people, but the two-world split, a lot of people thought that meant like the planet itself cracks in half. And it's not like that. It's like an energy, it's a dimensional energy split. And we're already inside of it. We're already experiencing it. Now, ascension is about a graduation point according to the Law of One. It's about graduating to the next level of experience, which in our case would be a fourth density, a fully fourth density experience. We're in a 3-4 density. Some of us are still living in 3D, some are living in 4D, some are living in higher 4D, moving up to 5. But we're on this sort of sliding scale. In this current state, the 4D it's not a physical shift. It's an energetic dimensional shift that we're experiencing. The graduation will be moving fully into that next level. And when it comes to graduation points, every single level has a graduation point. So when we were first density beings, we graduated to 2D. When we were 2D, we graduate to 3D, and so on and so forth and so up. So if you look at the physical vehicle of the body, for example, we have these 7 chakras, and it aligns with these 7 densities until we hit the octave, the 8th, right? And after that point, something else happens, but we're not aware of it in these lower 7 octaves, if you will. Each octave or density correlates with a chakra point. So our root chakra, for example, the red ray, correlates with first density and is always open and always on. This is the basic living energy. It's like, almost think about it as how the energy plugs into your field and supplies you with vital energy. So the red ray is always on and open. And then the second density is that personal emotional energy, and it connects you to a field of consciousness that's collective and shared. The third density is the solar plexus, and this connects you to a sense of self. And then the fourth density connects you to the energy of love, and that's the heart. And what's really interesting is we all kind of hang out together energetically in the first through third chakras, but at the fourth density we get a choice point, a really interesting choice point. And the way the Law of One describes it is these two poles, right? These two poles in energy. So there's the service to others, which is considered the positive polarity, and then service to self, which is the negative polarity. And a big factor in this split and which direction you're going to graduate in has to do with the ability to open the heart. Is the heart open or is the heart closed? Those who go in the negative direction, they're not meant to open their heart. Their heart needs to stay closed. Those who go in the positive direction need to open their heart fully. And then there are people in the middle, actually, who are neutral, meaning they're neither fully open or fully closed. They haven't picked yet. And that's where we get into the idea of, well, then I got to repeat the third density until I choose, until I make a choice. And the reason I bring all of this up is because when intense moments happen that trigger you in any way, it is an opportunity, especially when it's intense moments with humanity, when humanity is experiencing tension among itself. It really gives us the opportunity, if you will, to make a decision about whether our heart stays open or our heart closes. And I already feel like we're inside that split. Now, the beautiful thing is you can change your mind at any point. No, you're not fixed in. I think the fixed point is probably when graduation occurs, when there is like the final choosing, if you will, is like which way you're going to go. And then, of course, it's going to be based on how much of your time was spent with an open heart or a closed heart, right? So this is where we get into the idea of percentages. And it's actually quite easy to achieve the positive polarity. This one is the one that requires only 51% of your life. Is your heart open? 51%. Just 1% more than neutral, and you graduate. Right? If your heart stays closed and you want to go the closed heart route, then you actually have to close it off 95% of the way in order to achieve a graduation. If you don't hit 95%, you repeat the cycle in third density until you can either achieve that 95% or you change your mind and go polarize the other way. So I bring all this up because, like I said, we're in this very rocky, intense portal that offers you a very crisp opportunity about whether the heart stays open or closed. And when I asked the team, what does it want us to consider this week? The message I got was very interesting. It's the Nine of Swords, which in this deck is called cruelty. And usually when I read that card, the strong sense I get is the cruelty towards the self. That as I meditated on it and considered what the Law of One is, and the Law of One means the law is one. There is only one. There's only one being here. So it still works in that sense. It's cruelty towards self, meaning the collective is the one. There's nothing outside of this. There's no other being here. And this is one of those moments where I think that these kind of events that they're intended to create a disruption to unity or harmony, and they're meant to be incredibly divisive. And I think you're going to see divisiveness, the energy of division increase. So in these moments of increased divisional energy, sometimes hearing about oneness and how there's only one here can feel almost triggering. And that's something my team is like, you need to look at this because it's cruelty to self, and it if you wish for someone to be punished, or you wished for certain thoughts to be punished, or certain points of view to be punished, no matter what they are, if you're still wishing for that, then you are wishing to punish. You are wishing to create suffering. And ultimately, the energy is whatever you're putting out comes back to you times 3, because all you're putting it out into is you, right? This is the big conundrum that I guess it's, you could call it even a joke a little bit, is that it feels like there's somebody else, but ultimately it's you. And I'm actually reminded of the book Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh's book series. My favorite book in that series was Friendship with God. And I remember him talking about the healing process and what it looks like when we pass over. And the healing process looks like, if we don't figure out how to heal, become whole, and integrate that which we separate ourselves from, if we don't do that on the consciousness level, if we don't do it at a subconscious level in our lifetime, we do it afterwards, because you need to be able to put this chapter of your life, your soul life story to bed. You can't just keep playing this chapter. It's got to resolve, right? So on the other side of life, of physical life, I should say, on the other side of physical life is sort of a healing process. Many souls talk about this. Many souls experience it. We all do. Whatever's left unresolved or undone will resolve itself in a healing cycle. And that healing cycle often looks like getting to experience yourself through the other perspectives of you. Meaning, like, let's say you had particular anger or resentment towards a certain person, and you really made it clear, right? You really expressed your anger, frustration, hatred, whatever it is, to that person, or took action towards that person. Then in the healing cycle, what would happen is you would play it again, and you would see and feel and know everything that you thought, felt, and said and did. And then it would morph to you receiving your anger, frustration, and reset. So you'd play the other person and get to live the experience again through their perspective of what's going on. And then depending on how resistant we are to resolving it, we just do it over and over again till we hit that point of integration and resolve, till we finally see and understand. And then the duality, this separation of perspectives, finally integrates and becomes one, and then it's knowing and wisdom, right? So that's something that happens on the other side. So, but it also can happen here, and it can happen now. And the reason I bring all of this up is just when we are in these moments of high tension and high conflict, where division is a story that's really being pushed and offered to people, and can even seem enticing or entitled, like somebody's right and somebody's wrong and somebody's good and somebody's bad, and all of these things are happening. Well, it can be easy to close the heart and be like, yep, I am better, this person's worse. I am on the good side, this person's on the bad side. My thoughts are clean, their thoughts are not, right? Whatever it is, it can be so easy to do it. And when we do that, the heart closes. The heart chakra closes. And when it closes, that's kind of like points towards neutrality or points towards negativity, depending on where you're at. If you're a very positive person and your heart closes, are you going to be like, that's it, you're not positive? No. But then how long does the heart stay closed? Because we all have moments, like, again, if our heart just was open and stayed open, you'd already be over in higher fourth density. You'd already be there, right? You'd be on New Earth or in the higher density watching this and going, they'll get it, right? So the fact that we haven't achieved just like open heart, fully open, nothing closes it yet, that says nothing poorly against us, only that we're still in the process. And so it's moments like these where we have an opportunity to become more consciousness of how open or closed, or how much open close is happening within the heart field. And when we become aware of that, well, then that becomes an empowering moment where we get to make choices about it. Ultimately, what do I want to represent? What would I like to experience next? If this moment counts, which, according to all spiritual doctrine, all the moments count. So if this moment counts, what would I like it to count towards? Right? Would I like it to count towards positive, neutral, or negative? And then whatever you decide, because again, sometimes we got to take it at where we're at. We can't force ourselves to believe that we're okay until we are okay. So this isn't about a spiritual bypass, like, oh, I'm just going to say all is one and I have no anger and I'm not divisive and I don't engage in that. You might be very upset, very angry, very frustrated, very intolerant. Something is going to go on that you might need to address. And ultimately asking yourself, at what point do I resolve this? What is it going to take for me to resolve? Because ultimately I want my energy to be in blank space. Positive, neutral, negative, right? So where do you want it to go? That's the message I'm getting from my team right now, because this card is about suffering. And it's about the individual suffering. They're tormented. They're tormented maybe by looking at life and going, I'm really disappointed. I thought we'd be further than we are right now. Or they're looking, or their mind is tormenting them. Like, I just can't let go of the hate or anger or whatever it is I feel, or frustration or disgust or whatever it is that's in there. I can't let go. And so this card implies a torment, right? I'm vexed, if you will, by it. And there's no relief until you decide if you want to stay there or not. The person in the original tarot card, you see a woman in bed and she's crying and she's got 9 knives over her bed. They're like hanging on the wall, swords rather. She's not actually being hit with those swords. There are other cards where you see people getting attacked by the swords. The swords are decorative. They're not attacking. And yet she sits there and cries in torment, because it's implying that she's tormented by her thoughts, or she's tormented by her perception. And she will continue to sit there and cry even though she's not actually under attack. And she has the opportunity to stop crying once she wakes up and realizes that she's safer than she is, or it's safer than it appears to be. And safe is a relative word. It's safer around her in her current moment, or it's safer in her mind than it seems to be. The point being that she's recycling the torment. She's reliving it over and over again because she's trapped in a thought process and doesn't give herself the key. And the key is the questions. Where do I want to be? How long do I need to be here to resolve this? What do I need to know from myself to move through this? Do I want my heart to be open? Do I want it to be kind of neutral? Do I want it to be closed? And rather making those choices consciously, because each of those choices will give that woman in the card the opportunity of what this is the action that comes from that. For example, if I want my heart to be open, then I need to heal my thoughts around this. If I'm neutral, then I stay here. That's my next choice. I just stay here and cry. If I'm negative, maybe I take the sword off the wall and I go fight, right? But the choice about what the heart's going to do gives her a sense of direction and lets her know what action comes next. So with that, let's look at what the karma cards have to say. Right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team what is the message for the week. And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with your own intuition and feel what is the guidance that you are looking for this week. Is it action related? Do you want to see how things resolve? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for September 17th through the 24th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got the sun. The sun is about leadership. It's about taking action and decision making and following through. In the sign of Scorpio, which is the direct path to the truth. It doesn't want to, it wants to get to the heart of something. It wants to get to the heart of the truth, sometimes no matter how much it hurts. And then in the third house, which has to do with how we express ourselves or how we're communicating with one another. For those choosing action at this time, your spiritual action is to demonstrate the extraordinary power of prayer by making the right connections. Yeah, so again, I'm hearing the heart, the right connection is the connection to the heart, but that decision about what the heart is doing, right? Rather than praying from a place where you're not paying attention to your heart space. So before I send out a prayer, which is the asking, and then I'm going to receive an answer, most likely through a meditative state, right? But in the prayer is the asking. Before I ask from the universe, let me just check in where I'm connecting from. Am I in an open-hearted space? Is my heart neutral, meaning a little bit open, a little bit closed, or is my heart totally closed? So you want to know what you're asking from first, because that's what it's going to respond to, is the energy behind the asking. And the energy behind the asking is going to be very different depending on what our energy field is doing, right? If we're really open, then the asking is going to be of a high vibration. If we're totally closed, it's going to be of a low vibration. And we're in that midway state, we're going to get sort of like a midway response. Mental action at this time, realize the highest and lowest aspects of the idea in question. So when I'm asking my team, well, what's the idea in question? And they're responding with, well, what timeline do you want to be on? Which graduation point would you like to be a part of, right? Because again, to source, all of it's good. From my perspective, I'm like, like how is having a closed heart good? Because it's information, it's knowledge, and it teaches. It teaches a profound wisdom, a very painful wisdom, but wisdom nonetheless will be attained even through the closed heart path. So the question is, what timeline do you want to be on? Or what ascension path do you want to be on? The ascension path. So when you make your choice, like I want to be neutral, no, I want to be on the negative, I want to be on the positive, something along those lines. I mean, I'm going to assume because you're here, you want to choose the positive path, because I'm always like, yay, positive path, right? Yay, highest timeline. What's the highest and lowest aspects of that? The highest aspects is getting to experience the higher timeline and ultimate understanding of oneness and love and peace, and how it's always present and never, ever, ever gone. I think the lowest aspect is that feeling, you know how they say there's something about taking the high road that can create a lot of humbleness, because taking the high road sometimes feels like, and I'm not saying it is like this, but it can feel like your needs don't get met. You're like, oh, well, I guess they'll never understand, right? I guess they're never going to approve or appreciate or whatever it is, right? Sometimes on the high road, it feels like you're getting rocks kicked at you, even though you're trying to be on your best behavior. And it can feel thankless, I think, is what I'm looking for sometimes. That doesn't mean it is, but it can feel that way because your ego is not being appeased. You're bypassing it, and the ego has a sense of like, well, that's not fair to me, or that's not justice, or that's not right, or whatever it is. It's got his opinion. So taking the high road doesn't mean it always feels good. Sometimes, again, it can feel very humbling. It'd be very much like for example, people all the time criticize me for the content I put out. You know, they'll make assumptions about me that I don't have a close relationship with God, or that I need saving, or that I'm somehow putting something negative out in the world. And I don't perceive it that way. I don't perceive that that's what I'm doing. And taking the high road for me is just not to engage. which means that comment just sits out there. I don't erase them either. I let them be there. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to delete this, because if that's how you feel and that's in it, it's your right to express that, go ahead. However, there's a part of me that would like to defend myself and say, wait a minute, have you actually listened to what I said? I'm never going to do it though. I've never been called to do it because it's not worth it. It's like talking into the wind is what I get when I feel into that. So letting it go, letting that opinion be out there and just keep on keeping on, right, is how I do it. However, there is a feeling of like a little bit injustice to that. Like, you're just going to say hurtful things and I'm just going to have to be like, okay, I guess, because that's why fight it, right? Why engage in it? I understand it logically, but on an ego level, my ego is like, why don't you just tell them that they don't know how close you are, right? And I share that example with you, not because I want any sympathy or anything, only that the higher road is to each his own. Okay, that's your opinion. Let it go. Whatever, moving on. The ego is just not pleased by that. The ego would like to have, my ego would like to have her words, like to say her piece back. And so therefore I'm on that higher road, I'm taking it, but I don't feel completely settled. And I just wanted to share that as an example, because that's what it looks like. Not every fight's worth it. You don't have to fight everything either. Some things are, no matter how much you are in a state of conviction about it, somebody out there is not going to agree with it, and you can't convince everyone. And the higher path is to be like, don't convince them. Let them have their point of view. They're never going to see eye to eye with you here. So do you want to keep engaging in it and frustrating yourself and creating frustration in others, or do you want to be like, okay, the end? And in that sometimes although it has wisdom, doesn't always have a sense of satisfaction. Physical action at this time: act like a leader, control the situation, and get your ideas going. I just kind of hear like a toughen up buttercup in this. It's like, yeah, it's a thankless job sometimes. And the control the situation, for me, in this sense, I'm hearing like control your mind and get your ideas going. What do you want? What do you want to experience, rather than tormenting yourself with what you believe is, or, in the last example I gave you, how unfair or one-sided that is. I could sit there and torment myself over it, or I could, toughen up, buttercup, and remind myself that I didn't put this out there to argue with people. I put it out there to help people. And if this message is helping you, then I did what I intended to do. And if it's not, that's okay. You know what I mean? I go ahead and skip it, unfriend it, unfollow it, do whatever you want to it, but it's okay. Because my intention is to be of help and of service in whatever way that I can. And they're asking you the same thing. It's like, where are we getting hung up on something mentally? And what do you want? What's your idea? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to put more beauty out in the world, or more love, or more nurturing, or understanding, or healing, or groundedness, or truth, or whatever it is? What's your idea? What do you want to get going? And the other stuff, it's like, yeah, it feels like we got mud on us, right? Because again, we're in this very turbulent window, and there's a lot of mudslinging happening right now. It's like we got this mud on us, but toughen up, buttercup. The situation you're meant to control is this one. And then what is the idea? Where do I want to go? Do I want to sit here and mentally fight this and focus in so hard on like the state of the world, the division I see, the lack, or do I want to be out there and reminding people that this is all, much of this is illusory. We're already one. We've already won, as in winning, and we are all one, as in individual energy. So do I need to fight this? Or do I just control the way I'm seeing it and go, yeah, this is just part of what energy does as it's exploring the nature of itself. Remember, in order to understand what you are offered contrast to have an experience, because you are that. You already are. There's no, if we all were back into pure source energy, none of this would be happening, because we would just be in that being state, right? We came here for experience. So what's the best way to get an experience? Be provided with contrast. Contrast helps you know when you're in it or when you're out of it. And when you're out of it, but you want to be in it, it helps you make a choice to get back in it, right? So I feel like I'm being straightforward, but I also hear something that sounds very convoluted. So let me know in the comments if you're following along. All right, now let's go into outcomes for the Sun in Scorpio in the 3rd house of communication. Your spiritual outcome at this time is the creation of purification to resurrect your ideas. So this week's a clearing moment. It's getting clear, right? The first week of the eclipse threw us all collectively for a loop. Threw us for a loop. We shifted timelines. Some of us are like between timelines. That happened, and a source I would look to for that is, I would look to Carrie Kay's latest videos, because she really nailed it there. But in terms of the energy right now, we went through a loop. We're in the purification part of the portal. This is important that you decide now here where you're going to be shot out next. Because if you think of the eclipses like I see it like a long tube. It's like it starts with the first eclipse, and it opens at the first eclipse, and it shoots you out at the second eclipse. Oh my gosh, they're showing me like a roulette spinning wheel and the ball, but it goes through a chute. And if you can direct this chute, so maybe it's not a roulette wheel. Stay with me here. They're just showing me something I can't articulate. They show me spinning, which represents all the timelines, all the different scenarios, and then they show me this little chute that the ball launches through. That's the portal. And if you direct the chute, you can get it to land in the specific spot you want it to. You need to make the decision inside the portal. So you're turning the portal in a direction that you desire to go through thought. And that is heart open, heart neutral, heart closed. And then when my heart's open, what do I want to do? What idea am I trying to get across here? What is it that I want to put out in the world? What is it that I want to express? Is it peace, unity, joy, oneness, beauty, power, whatever, healing? That's where you're going to land based on how open your heart is. The more open, the more direct the shot. The more like neutral the close. When you close the window, they're showing me the chute that sorry, you guys are watching me like try to understand this in real time. The more open, the more direct the shot. The more closed, it messes up your shot. It'll ping pong around. Okay, got it. 2 points. What's your heart doing? What do you want? What's your idea? What do you want to experience? So you got to make a decision about that. When this next eclipse comes, you're going to be moved to that experience, okay? Meaning you're going to see yourself, your idea. So you've got action to do here. It's not a passive thing this time, it's active. So if the idea, let's say my idea is like I want more beauty in the world, and my heart is open, then I see myself getting shot into an experience where I will be creating more beauty actively, and people will be experiencing it and hopefully expressing that they're experiencing it as an example, right? So 2 points they want you to remember. Heart open, neutral, or closed. You choose. What is your idea? What do you want to experience? And that's where you're going to land on the other side of this portal. Mental outcome at this time, the gaining of respect for or from the secrets of short-term thinking and trips. What I get from them is we're going to look back on this moment in time, this period, as a turning point. We're going to see that really clearly. And we're going to get it. We're going to get it that I think that we're waiting for outside things to come along and straighten things out or make things better. We keep waiting for that, and that's a very passive form of power. We've been taught to do that. We believe that there are institutions and things like that that are supposed to make those decisions for us, and then we just kind of go along. That's never been the case, and I think in this period of time, people are really like, again, grappling with contrast that they've been given and starting to realize, like, I got to make a choice here. I have to make a personal choice of what I want to experience, because at this point in time, things don't look like they're getting better. They don't look like it's going to get better. In fact, some people are worried that it's going to get worse. And what I would tell you is no matter what happens, that's not dictating your experience as much as we think it is, the outside. It's actually how you're reacting or responding to it. That is the catalyst. That is the most powerful catalyst in your life, is the reaction and the response. There's events, and then there's what we decide from that event. And so we're being asked to become very conscious and choose with great intention and with a powerful heart which way we want to go, because you're more in charge of the next experiences you're having than the outside world. And the outside world will continue to offer you catalysts. As I think I'm thinking about the journey of the major arcana of the tarot, the spiritual level. So the tarot, the 21 cards, the way the Law of One talks about it, it's 3 tiers. There's a mental plane, a physical plane, and the spiritual plane. The spiritual plane starts with the devil, the 15th card, which is about false evidence appearing real. It's about the lie and waking up from the lie. It's about the illusion and waking up from the illusion. The next card after that is the Tower, which is like all false ideas being knocked out of the head, right? The card after that is about attaining, remembering your spiritual powers and your power of creation. And then you have to grapple with more illusion, whether you're going to get like called back into illusion or not. When you pass that, that's when we hit the sun. But even after that is the judgment, right? Or the self-actualization that happens. The spiritual plane is no joke. You'd think it would be like, it's one of the harder planes, because it's constantly going to offer you catalyst. Are you going to fall back into this pattern, or are you going to remember what you are? Are you going to fall back in now, or are you going to remember what you are? So I think like as we move closer to our graduation point, I think as we're evolving, people want to see like, they want to see unity, they want to see joy, they want to see expansion, they want to see things getting better. And yet, what is it that really shows us what we are is the contrast. So we keep getting offered the contrast, because every time you choose to continue to shine and you're in the dark, you get brighter and brighter until you self-actualize. You realize, this is what I am. I'm a powerful part of Source. I'm an eternal entity that continues and continues, and there's no end to me, right? When we get that, I know it's like, it's so big. All of this is like big and heavy, but it's important that in this moment we start making decisions about that, because where we end up on the other side of the portal will show us how much strength and self-awareness we accumulated during this time. Physical outcome at this time, things brought to light or life resulting from the power of who and what is around you. Yeah, this is one of those times where, again, there's like purification and truth, right? So when truth comes out, it means like there's transparency, right? Certain events going on right now are creating a transparency about maybe the stages of people's hearts and spiritual development, right? Is very obvious right now. That's one of those things that you can see pretty clearly, is where someone is at, again, from a heart level and a spiritual development level. And again, we're in the middle of this portal, so it gives us contrast about what we're choosing next. Whatever we see, it's important that we understand that that is not something we can control, only observe, and then make choices for ourselves about. So do I agree with that? Do I want to be like that or associated with that? Or is that something that disappoints me or really takes me aback or makes me question what kept us connected in the first place? There's going to be all sorts of questions, but my point is that just like random comments on your channels or things like that, or things that people try to project onto you, none of that's actually yours to handle. That's theirs. Yours is how you react or respond. And this is a time where we will get very clear in both ourselves and other people how we're reacting or responding. And from that point, we got those two choices that they're saying to make, which is about where the heart's at and what our idea, what you want to experience. Those are our two things. What other people are doing is going to be very distracting, maybe, and possibly enticing to get involved in it, but that's actually has nothing to do with you personally. You personally have a couple of important choices to make to help sort of solidify the direction you'd like to go in. Remember, energetically, we are lining up to certain timelines, and there's multiple timelines playing out. And I know that's a heady thought, and yet it's true. And so the power, if you will, is in your perspective, how you're viewing it, what you're doing with your heart, and what you're choosing next. And with all of that, I am sending you so much love, so much love, and I look forward to seeing you next week or at the next Spirit Circle. So, mwah.